Thank you for coming. I'm going to talk about Lodge Cast Iron and how we create a culture of sustainability with our operation in Tennessee. So I want to start just by talking about sustainability and kind of what it means to us. And if you think about a food memory you might have, maybe it was with people you really loved, or maybe you remember it because of the flavors that were delicious, or maybe it was just the place that you ate this food in. Um, but I think for us, what sustainability means is connection. And you can't have a connection if you can't care about something if you don't have a connection to it. So at Lodge, I want to talk about how we build that connection through our cookware and our people and through the brand and the place where we live, and how that it leads to our culture of sustainability. So first of all, oh, who is Lodge? Lodge is America's oldest and largest manufacturer of cast iron cookware. We're a fifth generation family owned company, founded in 1896, and we are based in a small town called South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. We have over 550 employees, and some of those employees are also second, third, and even fourth generation employees, like the ones here, father and son, father and daughter, even grandparents and grandchildren work at Lodge. And in the late 1800s, there were many, many, many foundries that made cookware in the United States. But one by one, all of those foundries have closed or moved their operations overseas. Today, the only one left from all of those is Lodge Cast Iron. Like I said, Lodge was founded in 1896 by a man named Joseph Lodge. Um, Lodge made all kinds of things in the early days, not just cast iron cookware. So we made also irons and andirons for the fireplace, and even decorative objects. And it was a hot and dirty job back in the olden days, having to pour by hand and pack all of the molds by hand. And today, a lot of it's automated and it looks very different. It's a much cleaner place to work, a little bit easier. And if you've ever been in the United States, you know that our hero product is the cast iron skillet. This is a product that hasn't changed design in over 100 years. And now Lodge makes over 100 different products in the foundry that people use all over the United States. So what is it made of? I want to talk a little bit about the materials that go into cast iron. I'm going to play a video. Let's see. So there's three main ingredients in cast iron. One is recycled castings. So everything that we cast in the foundry, if it doesn't meet our quality standards, if it's not perfect, we just melt it back down and create new cookware. So there's no waste from the materials side of things. Everything gets remelted. This is called slitter steel, and it's a byproduct of steel manufacturing, and we source this within 300 miles of our foundry. This is a byproduct of automobile and furniture manufacturers who can't use this product, so we buy what they can't use, and we melt it in our process. And the third main ingredient in cast iron is called pig iron, and it's raw iron that comes out of the ground. So that's how it's smelted, and this is how it looks. And everything we pick up with this giant magnet and we melt it together. So pig iron, steel, and recycled castings. And so if you look at one single pan that Lodge makes, about 61% is reclaimed materials. So about half of that is our own recycled castings, and then 37% is pig iron, and then about 12% recycled steel. How do we actually make it? So I want to talk a little bit about our process. And there's a lot of circularity in the process of making cast iron. So this is the melting process. So it's actually a very beautiful thing to see. The iron is melted at about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is about 1,370 degrees Celsius. It's very hot. And the molten metal is poured into these transfer ladles. And then what we do then is we make molds with sand. So sand is the other very large input in our manufacturing process. And we have a machine now that can automate how to make those molds. We make the mold, you pour the hot cast iron in, it fills it up in the shape of a cookware, and then it cools and moves down the line. So this is, after the cookware is cooled, it's dumped out with the sand. And all of the sand that we use filters down through these conveyor belts and then is recycled again. So all of the materials are recycled in the process, and then all of the sand used in the process is also recycled. So you can see it's quite the large operation. The cookware is then separated from the gating, which is the piece of the mold that's not the cookware. And then after that, it goes to be cleaned. How we clean it is we shot blast it with a bunch of steel shot, and then we clean it with soap and water. You can use soap on cast iron. And then we hang it up to dry. And as you'll see here, it looks kind of silver. It's not black yet. But the next part of the process is actually we spray the pan with a layer of oil, just regular cooking oil. And then we bake the oil onto the cast iron at a very hot temperature, and that turns the pan black. It's a process called polymerization. And what this does is it creates a very natural non-stick coating on the pan, but it's chemical free. It's just 100% cooking oil. We have an ad. We talk a lot about PFAS in the United States, and it's a chemical. There's a lot of laws now coming out about how regulating PFAS. We know that it's very toxic and it can build up in your body. So we're very proud that we don't have this chemical in our cookware. It's just natural cooking oil. And then one of the biggest things that we tout at Lodge is that our cookware lasts for generations. So in the United States, there's a very old tradition of passing your cast iron cookware down to your children and grandchildren, and it's very special to inherit one of these pieces of cast iron. And in the United States too, we talk about how this is special because the cast iron gets better and better every time you use it, more and more smooth every time that it's used, and more oil is baked onto it. So if you inherit a cast iron pan that's 100 years old, it will be very, very smooth and beautiful. And if you look at cookware in general, there's ceramic nonstick, which just lasts 1 to 3 years. There's regular chemical-coated nonstick, which lasts a little bit longer. Stainless steel can last for decades, but it's got those rivets that'll wear out eventually. But cast iron will last for generations. So we really believe in making products that stay in people's homes forever and never have to go to the landfill. And the beautiful thing too about cast iron is that if it does get rusty, you can actually sand the rust off, cover it with a little oil, and restore it just like new. So over and over, you can do this. We've even had people who contact us because they've found pans in old houses, or even in we had someone who found a pan in a shipwreck at the bottom of a river, and they pulled it out and they restored it, and it was like brand new. So it's kind of amazing what you can do with your cast iron. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the culture at Lodge. We do a lot to promote cooking and people making recipes in our cookware. One of the most popular items to make in cast iron in the southern United States, where Lodge is located, is called cornbread. And cornbread is something a lot of people grew up with. They eat it with their soups and stews. And in our little hometown of South Pittsburgh, we actually have a festival all about cornbread. So we have the National Cornbread Festival, and we promote the tradition and keep that alive. I can tell you about all of the wonderful recipes and everything, but I think that what's more impactful is if I just show you some comments from our consumers, people that actually use cast iron and what it means to them. So this is a photo from Kevin, 80, in Brooklyn, New York. He says, "This pan was a gift from my mother-in-law the first Christmas that I was dating my now wife. Every single meal we have eaten in the last 16 years has been cooked in this pan. Every one. Every roast chicken, steak, breakfast, lunch, dinner, every Thanksgiving stuffing, cornbread, Parker house roll, and focaccia. Every time I pick it up to cook, I am reminded about all the wonderful years that I've had with my wife and all the comforting meals we have cooked in the pan. So I think people don't say this about nonstick aluminum pans. This is something really special in people's lives, and I think to be a sustainable manufacturer, you have to create things that people care about, right? I'll show you a couple more. This is Al Hernandez from California. He says, my favorite piece of Lodge cast iron is my 8-inch skillet that was handed down from my grandmother. Perfectly seasoned, this skillet represents much more than years of cooking. It also represents family, comfort, and love. Looking into the history of the skillet, I found out that each craftsman at Lodge had their own mark, so they could be paid by the piece. This was back a long, long time ago. In my skillet's case, the mark is a heart. That mark is perfect for a skillet that has seen so much love over the years and represents my attitude toward Lodge cast iron. So these are just lovely stories people tell us all the time who've used our products. And then the last one I'll share is this from Gary Greathouse Jr. He says, 3 generations of Lodge cookware get used in my kitchen daily. My 12-inch skillet, bought new in 2010, my grandmother's pan from the 1930s, and my wife's grandmother's pan from the 1960s. It's cookware I can't live without. And I'll end by just showing you this is my Lodge cast iron skillet. And if you look closely, it's not perfect. The seasoning's a little patchy, but it gets better every day. And the more I use it, the better it gets. And my mom gave it to me when I moved into my first apartment many years ago. So thank you for your time and attention. And if you have any questions, see me after.